A while back, I was having a discussion um, on a debate forum about the phenomenon of people causing disruption on planes. Now, I'm of the view that there should be very, very stiff consequences for this, and I'm of that opinion because the dynamic and the environment of a plane is very different from being on the ground. That's why I believe that any significant disruption should result in a mandatory custodial sentence, whether there is direct violence or not. And let me explain why. If you have a confined space at 23,000 or whatever it is feet, and you have people traveling from destination A to destination B, they want to get there in one piece. When you have some drunk idiot spewing off, whether it be about politics or whether it be about some sort of personal issue, then that compromises the safety of everyone else on board because that drunken idiot can do something reckless like pull a safety valve. No one knows that they're not going to do that. So I think there should definitely be harsh consequences because it's different than if you get someone who's causing a nuisance in a pub, they just get thrown out. Maybe they get a police warning. But in a confined space at 23,000 feet, there could be absolutely no gambles and something like that. And some of the things I've heard have been shocking, like the Chinese heiress who actually threw a hot liquid, I believe it was hot noodles, in the face of an Air France stewardess. Now, she was arrested, I'm pleased to say, but there's also been similar examples from a lot of British commuters. Unfortunately, the UK has a dubious reputation when it comes to the behaviour of some of our travellers, and it tends to be on short haul flights, thankfully, as opposed to long haul flights. But any flight, it's a problem. I have zero respect for such people. I think they're selfish um, idiots, and it frustrates me when people use excuses like, "Oh, well, it's the alcohol talking." No, that's a card's excuse. You chose to get drunk. You're responsible. Um, But this leads to other questions. What is the solution for this? I could talk about the punishment. I do think there should be a custodial sentence because they're threatening public safety. But especially if they assault someone. But it isn't just about that, it's also about what measures can be taken to prevent this in the first place. There is a phenomenon that has been seen where if a flight is delayed, you get a hen party or a stag party. And what they do is they wait in the kind of lounge area and they get themselves tanked up to the point where they're being really loud and really obnoxious and they think they own the place. Now, this is a sort of group dynamic. You get it with certain football supporters. Um, I've been on trains coming back from a long journey somewhere within the UK, and it's a very unpleasant thing to get a bunch of loud football, I won't say hooligans, but loud football supporters just shouting loudly at each other. And there's something very selfish about that group dynamic. Oh, we're in a group, so we can do what we want. Um, I usually either move to another carriage or I try to ignore it. But sometimes then they try to bring you into it, and you have to put up with the banter, and it's bullshit. You really shouldn't have to put up with that. So I really have no respect for selfish people who think that they can hide behind the excuse of banter or being drunk. But it's more serious when you actually get aggressive behavior. I mean, it's bad enough when you're putting up with people who don't care for others' kind of personal peace, but when you see aggressive behavior, that's going beyond the pale. And I really think there's no excuse. If it's something going on in their personal life, if they're angry about some political issue, don't impose it on other people. Um, so I fully support a mandatory custodial sentence because there has to be a message that this sort of behavior can't be tolerated. Um, Let me know your thoughts. But I would say this: do consider if you're saying, oh, but custodial sentences is punitive. Consider that we're talking about a confined space here. It's not the same as being on the ground. I wouldn't necessarily support a custodial sentence for every sort of antisocial behavior, but in a plane, hell yeah. When everyone else's safety is being compromised, I have zero sympathy for such people, and I think it's disgusting to be quite honest. And I'm not the only one. Most level-headed people I can see recognize this for what it is. And like I say, it's sometimes drunken behavior, not always. Sometimes you just get people who have a bad attitude and an entitled attitude, like that Chinese heiress. Her mindset was, oh, well, I'm rich, so I can do what I want. So the little princess got the book thrown at her, and then please, that happened. Because it's a disgrace that airline staff have to put up with this rubbish. People think it's a glamorous job, but they have very long hours and they're on their feet all day, and it's, well, okay, maybe they're not on their feet all day, but you get my point. It isn't an easy job. They have to put up with difficult customers. It's not as glamorous as people think. I've had friends in that industry, so I have huge sympathy for the sort of abuse that they have to put up with. As for delays and so on, I get it. It's frustrating, and everyone, has a breaking point. But that's still no excuse to get drunk out of your mind and act like an idiot. And I think airlines should have a policy of just refusing anyone who's intoxicated. They probably already do, but clearly sometimes people get through the cracks. And it's really unfortunate. Um, I know some of the American airlines have air marshals, and it seems like a drastic approach. Sometimes you do get situations where there's overreach, for example, in United Airlines last year. So common sense has to be applied, whereby innocent people aren't targeted, for example, maybe someone with genuine mental health problems or something like that. But in cases where someone's clearly just being disruptive, I would absolutely support them being put in handcuffs by an air marshal and then arrested as soon as they arrive on land on at the next airport. Let me know your thoughts.